Hey guys, it's great to see you here today. We're going to talk a little bit about the group activity. The group activity is to create a lesson plan. And the idea is that you guys kind of come up with a group unit and you come up with 6 lesson plans. And you guys are going to be working in groups of 2 to 4 individuals. Since this is a group activity, it should be done in a group, obviously. You guys will get to discuss with your classmates what your interests are. You can write on the discussion board, or if you guys already have another forum where you guys talk, that's great. And you guys will create your own groups. And I would keep in mind not to work with just people that we know or that are friends, but to work with people that kind of work with students in the same age group, right? Because it'll make it much easier. And you guys are going to come up with a detailed unit with 6 different lessons. And it's up to you how long the class sessions are. So I think it's great that you align this to what your reality is. So for example, where I teach, I have hour lessons, and then I also have 45-minute lessons, and I have 55-minute lessons. So what I might do is I might create 6 15-minute lessons, right? So they could be adapted for the longer classes and kind of adapted for the shorter ones. But it's up to you. It should be realistic. I don't know many schools that have 15-minute lessons and switch classes after 15 minutes. But for example, for those of you that work with younger students, right, those lessons might end up being, 35 minutes. And those of you with older students, you might have block schedules and have them for an hour and a half. So it's completely up to you how long the class sessions are and for you guys to discuss that in your groups. You guys should include an introduction. The introduction will include kind of your rationale for your chosen unit. So your reasoning for why you chose to, for example, teach the human body. And you'll include that with the national curriculum that you guys have decided upon. You guys can use whatever national curriculum you and your group mates have decided on. You do not have to do a certain national curriculum. As everybody's located all around the world, I do understand that sometimes it's nice to work with somebody from your home country or wherever you're teaching, right? So that you guys can share that same national curriculum. You'll include kind of what the unit consists of. So in terms of the theme, the assignments, and the projects and or tests. And we're going to look at this in more detail when I show you the example that I've included in this video. You'll include the learning outcomes for the unit. So just these will be the different things that you guys are trying to achieve throughout the unit. And you'll also include the learning objectives your students will be able to for the unit as well. And this will be what the students should be able to do by the end of this unit, right? The learning outcomes go with the lessons, whereas the objectives will go for the overall unit. And again, we'll see that in a minute. And then you'll break down your unit assessment. So how are these students going to be evaluated on this unit? If the students were to do this unit, is 10% going to be dedicated to their in-class work? Is there going to be another 10% for group work? Is there going to be a project? Is there going to be an exam, right? So it's kind of how would the students be assessed for this unit? And then the description of the assessment. So this is the list of the activities that are included in each of the lessons. So let's take a look at it now so you guys have a better idea. And also you have, of course, finally the criteria. It is really important that you make sure that every group member's name is included on the assignment, their first and last name. Only one document needs to be uploaded. You don't need to upload it each individual. And there'll be 1 mark per group, right? It shouldn't be any longer than 20 pages. This does not include the appendix. So if you wanted to include examples of the kind of the materials you would use in class, that would go in your appendix, all right? And this is kind of the breakdown. The introduction is 4 points. So this is just all the parts of the introduction are included with its clear explanations and lists. And the rationale provides justification for the national laws competences. That you've got your lesson plans. It's easy to follow and it could be implemented. What I mean by that is that if I took your lesson plan, could I walk into the classroom and do what you guys have kind of set out? The appendix, you should include an appendix with the materials that are in the lesson. and they should be titled and easy to find. And then finally, the conventions, right? So let's take a look at that example. So I'm not including everything in here because I think it's really important that you guys put your own spin and your own creativity on it. So I'm just giving you kind of the beginning sections of each section so you guys can have an idea. So this will be the rationale for the unit, and they kind of go in and they explain the group of students, how many students there would be, kind of what the group is like, and also how English is taught, right? If you teach in a school where English is taught as a first language, or that it is a bilingual school, this would be where you need to include that information, right? So this is kind of the explanation. And then they go through and they explain that in their curriculum, their national curriculum, they do have to teach students certain materials, and through those contents that they have to teach, not materials, they have decided to design this unit. So what the unit will consist of, they go through explaining the theme, the assignments, and the projects. They go through explaining the 6 activities and how they're kind of divided up for first graders, right? And basically, they just explain the theme, the assignments, the different activities they're going to be doing throughout the unit, right? And then they include the learning outcomes, right? And they include the learning outcomes at the very beginning, but then you'll see later on that they include them in their lessons. And they have as well their objectives. And they've decided to divide up their objectives into different areas, right? And as we can see here, they've divided it into self-knowledge and personal autonomy, and then they've divided it into knowledge of the environment. And they've got other areas that they've divided up to. That's not a mandatory thing. That's up to you how you want to do it. So they've got their assessment. In their assessment, they talk about their different activities, and they talk about their weighting, right? So of the overall total. So if we added up these different activities, we would know basically how the students would be evaluated, right? And then they have their list of activities. This is just kind of like a guideline, kind of like a table of contents of the different activities that we'll find and where they are in each of the lessons, right? And they've decided to divide up their units, or their lessons, into 50 minutes, right? 50, 55. And then they go through the lessons. So they include their learning outcome here at the very top. They include their objective, right, of this lesson, what they want to get done, the contents of what the teachers are going to need, of what the students are going to learn, and then the materials of what the teachers are going to need. And then they also, this is something that they've decided to do, but I thought it was a really nice adjustment, was they included attention to diversity. So they kind of gave you different ways that you could adjust your lessons for students that might have a harder time. Or you could do it the other way for students that are quite gifted in the language and they need more of a challenge. Then they go through and they explain the activity and the timing. I know it might be kind of hard to see here because it's in yellow, but they go through, they explain the different activities, and they explain the timing. And then finally, at the end of this lesson, they included kind of how they will assess their students using this rubric, right? So it's, could the students achieve this? Yes, no, or maybe it's not, you're not sure, right? So that's what they've decided to include. They, of course, include their bibliography at the end, and then they finally have their appendix. Their appendix are the different materials that the teacher would use for the class, right? So this is just one example of a group lesson or group unit lesson plan. And remember, it's up to you about, this is about you and your needs for the classroom and making this something that you could use in the future, right? If you have any more questions, we'll definitely answer those in class. So thank you. Bye, guys.